I'm sure by now everybody knows the dangers of taking steroids, and there are many dangers of taking steroids, but many people don't talk about it, especially on the internet. Most people don't talk about it. I don't see it. Everybody's very pro steroid. I mean, I'm pro TRT, but I'm not pro steroid, and I'll tell you why, because I have had bad experiences myself from taking steroids, and I have seen some horror stories. Touch wood. Luckily for me, I've never had any horror stories, but I have seen some pretty horrific stuff. So today I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a story, and this has happened to three people that I know, but one I personally know very, very well. I don't know if the guy watches this. It's been a long time since I've even met this individual. It's been a long time since I've even heard of him, or I don't know where he is nowadays. I don't know what he's doing. Funnily enough, I'm not going to mention his name, but funnily enough, about 6 months ago, someone mentioned him in the gym we were training at. And I was like, hey, what the hell happened to this guy? You know, we've not seen him in a long time. And we were just talking and reminiscing about old times. And somebody mentioned, can you remember when this particular thing happened? And we was like, holy shit, that was the first time I'd ever seen anything that horrific. I'm about to tell you that story now. So what had happened is, this was a guy who used to come to the gym. I used to own the gym, and he used to come train. He was a big lad. I'm not going to say what sport he did. He was a very big dude. And like most guys at the time, even now, he was heavily into taking a lot of gear, just like everybody was. And there's nothing wrong with it. Each to their own. I've got no problem with it. I used to be really shocked when I used to hear people's cycles, because at the time, my heavy cycle for me was 1 oxy a day with 2 shots of test and amphate a week, and 1 oxy. And I was 102 kilos like this, strong as an ox, you know. And then when I used to hear people taking 35 mil. Yes, 35 mil, like 5 mil a week of 5 mil a day of different substances. So that, for example, they could stack anywhere from like testosterone, cypionate, equipoise, masteron, and primo. They'd stack that together. With Trent, they'd stack all that together, plus your D-ball every single day, plus your halo every single day, and it's absolutely crazy some of the cycles that these guys take. And I always used to say, where the hell are you jabbing? Because at that time I was young and naive as well. I never used to use the insulin needles to jab. I used to use the big blue and green needles, and it used to be so painful. And I used to think, how the hell? And this is me jabbing twice a week, and these guys were jabbing every single day, 5 mil of oil every single day. And I used to think, how the hell are they jabbing? What pain must these guys be going through to add a little bit of muscle? It wasn't for me. I'm glad it wasn't for me at the time. Otherwise, who knows where I would have been right now. Probably not sat right here. That's what I mean by that. I wouldn't have been sat here. Not a good thing. So the story that I'm about to tell you guys is pretty horrible. Especially when you see it. We see it with your own eyes. It's pretty disgusting. Anyway, so the guy's a big gear taker. Big lad as well. Very big lad. So it's not like a skinny dude taking gear. Very knowledgeable guy. So again, he's not an idiot. He's not one of those guys who's just taking stuff just for the sake of it. Strong guy. Everything's good. If anything, he was one of the go-to guys at the time for a little bit of advice. So if you had any advice on certain things you wanted to do, he was the guy who you just go to speak to. And one day he was training in the gym, and he felt a bit dizzy. Felt a bit sick. And he mentioned that his ass cheek at the back, he was jabbing, and he had a massive golf ball there. When I mean a golf ball, what I mean by that is when you see a steroid guy, people that take steroids heavily, they often build up scar tissue in their site of jabbing. I mean, a very good friend of mine, if he's watching this, I don't know, he has a big golf ball on his delt, like literally over there. If you touch him like that, it's just massive. It's round, and he doesn't really give a shit anymore. So he just keeps jabbing over it. He'll just inject straight over it. It doesn't matter. He's not an aesthetic guy. It is the way it is. And some guys are just like that. Some guys are just built different, you know. I never, ever have jabbed. Actually, I lie. Once I did. But other than that one occasion, I've never jabbed anything in my upper body ever. It's just not something I'd ever do. And the reason why is because I was jabbing in my ass cheeks, the same as everybody else. I used to jabbing left side, jabbing the right side, alternate Monday, Thursday, Monday, Thursday, Monday, Thursday, do the massager, the foam roller, the hot baths, all that to try and disperse everything. And it just wasn't working, and I was getting really sick and really tired, getting dead legs, and oh God, I just really annoyed it. People, some guys, just jabbing your shoulder. I'm like, no, I don't want to mess the aesthetics up of my arms and all this kind of shit. Just do it. It's okay. Stop being a pussy. You know how the guys are. So I thought, okay, go ahead, I'm going to go do it. So what I did was, rather than getting a green needle or the blue needle, which most guys were jabbing with back then, absolutely crazy. I don't know why they were doing that, but it's just they were. I got the one that's a bit smaller. It was an orange needle. And I don't know if they're still around. It was an orangey looking needle, and that was the one I was using. Not the insulin one that I use now. It was an orange. It was an actually clip-on orange syringe. A little bit smaller than the blue, but not much smaller. I used that, injected over here. I think it was the right hand. Yeah, it was the left-hand side. So I injected over here. And it was fine. I was like, oh, perfect. No issue. Trained, woke up the next morning, could not move my shoulder. Driving the car, at the time it was a manual. Oh, I was like moving the hand just to get that. Oh, it was disgusting. Absolutely horrible. 3 days that lasted. 3 days. I had a dead arm for 3 days. Couldn't train, couldn't do anything. I had a fever. I knew the gear was like still stuck in there, and it was just absolutely annoying. It was horrible. One of the worst feelings I've ever had. And since that day, I've never, even insulin needles now are so small and I'm only jabbing 0.25 at a time or 0.5 at a time, I still do not do it. I still say, no, I'm not going to do it. I've never jabbed upper body. I always use my glutes for injection size. Anyway, backtracking to the story. So this dude was using the injection sites on his ass, and he was just injecting over one over the other, just the way it is. You don't know what's going on underneath the skin sometimes. You can touch it and you might feel like it's a bit of a lump, but you don't pay attention, you just think, I'll just jab around it. And he was in the gym training, felt very, very sick, felt ill. And he went to the end of the gym and laid down. And we were training continuously. It was easy, all right, let's go check on him, we'll see what he's all right. And we went over, is he okay? He seemed okay, yeah, I'm just knackered. Started sweating. Bear in mind, this was a cold day, but you know when you have trend sweats, everyone's had that, even I've been there. We all know what it feels like. Your blood glucose goes up and down. On top of that, you're on insulin. On top of that, you're taking GH. So you don't really ever know what the issue is. This is the problem with stacking so many steroids all together. You never really know what the issue is, which is one of the reasons why I don't like doing it. So anyway, he's a bit knackered, and he says, right, I'm not feeling too well. I'm going to go to the hospital. So he went to the hospital. And what happened is he actually had an abscess on his ass. Yes, that's what it was. It was an abscess from where he was jabbing. So he had jabbed 5 mil in one side. He was a big dude, trust me. So 5 mil were nothing. 5 mil on one side, and then he jabbed it again, I think 2 days later, on the same side. The gear had crystallized inside, and it just was not moving, and it was just caused him to have an abscess. I don't know the technical term for it. I don't give a shit. You know what I'm trying to say. So it was causing, and it was all just red hot. And the nurse said, we need to scoop this out. Yes, scoop it out. So he described it as them getting a spoon, cutting inside him, and scooping this gear out. Yes, that's exactly what it was like. So this, and remember, this isn't a day of camera phones or anything like that. But I saw his missus actually took a picture with back in the days with the old cameras, and he bought them in, and we saw the picture, and it was literally, I haven't even got anything here, but what have I got? Yeah, it was like this. The amount of crystallized gear was like this. This isn't scar tissue, by the way. They don't scoop scar tissue out. They actually scoop out gear that crystallizes inside you. It has nowhere to go. It's a foreign body inside your body. That's what it is. It's some foreign object inside your body. So it crystallized. It was about something like this. This is how big it was when it was all scooped out. And with loads of blood as well, obviously. So they scooped it out. Now, they need to pack it because they can't just leave that hole. It'll completely deform you. So then they had to put some packing in there, and then it was sealed up. And it was absolutely insane. So the next day, it was not an overnight procedure. They came in the next day and showed everybody. It was horrendous. I didn't think something like that could even happen. And here's the funny thing about it, though. After he showed us this site, he went, yeah, have you guys never seen that? I was like, no, never even knew that thing could happen. He went, yeah, it happened to me last year on the other side. Pulled his pants down on the other side and he had a scar there. I was like, what the hell? So it's absolutely insane that these guys, like I said, he was a friend of mine. He was a nice guy, lovely fella, but just, it's just mental how this had happened to him, I think 6 months or a year ago. And now, a year later, the same thing happened again. Surely you'd think I'm not going to do that, but I'm not here to judge anybody. I'm just here to tell you the story. That can happen if you are jabbing with the big needles, too much gear in one spot. Eventually, it crystallizes. You're going to need it, literally scooping out. So they cut it open, scooped the gear out, sealed it back up, packed it all in, and then obviously as the weeks and months go by, the packing slowly gets pushed out. Your body kind of like rejuvenates itself. It does happen. I actually had my finger bit off from there. I'll show you that on another day. That's another story for another day about how that happened. And that literally grew back as well. They never thought that was going to grow back, and it's fully functioning. So and believe me, when people say this happens, it can happen. You can grow certain things back. As long as all the nerves and tendons are still there, things can grow back. So they pack it and then slowly comes out, and then it just seals itself. The body's very, very smart. It's very handy at doing things like that, especially in survival mode. So crazy story, but he'd had it happen to him on both sides, and I had only caught it the second time, and it was just mad. Now the reason I mentioned the other two people at the start is because the other chap in question, I don't personally know him. I've met him. He is a IFBB pro bodybuilder locally. Not talking bad about anybody or anything like that. This is not what the purpose is. I'm just here to raise some awareness that this thing can happen. Now, when people are IFBB pro bodybuilders, or when people are trying to chase, in fact, at the time, he wasn't even a pro bodybuilder. He was chasing the pro card. You follow people's journey online, on social media, on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube, whatever you're into, that's fine. At the time I was into bodybuilding, I wanted to compete, I was into bodybuilding. So you follow people, and some people are transparent about it, which I believe they should be. And I think one of the main reasons to be transparent, which I give this person a lot of credit for, is, yeah, you're going to get a lot of haters saying, oh, look at this guy, what is he doing? But I just think it's good to raise awareness. It shows the reality of the sport. It shows, or if you want to call it a sport, it's a beauty pageant. It just shows the reality of what actually takes to become an IFBB pro bodybuilder. And then you can sit back and say, is it all worth it? Do I want to be risking this kind of stuff to get a pro card or a trophy? And if you're very, 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 very good, then a couple of £1 million contracts, deals, all sorts. There's money in the game. At the very top, though. That is it. Only the top guys are getting paid. Everybody else is paying their way to get there. That's the reality of it. The reality of it is, like, I don't know this, so don't quote me on it, but in the Olympia, I think, let's say there was 100 competitors in a particular class. Top 10, top 5 got paid. Not the men's open, but like I'm talking like the bikinis and the classic physique guys and all this kind of stuff. I think there was like 50 or whatever, classic physique guys. Majority of them paid to get there, and the top 5 or 10 got paid. That was it. And the guy who got paid third place probably didn't even make back on his gear cycle. His growth hormone in the last week probably cost more than the prize money. So not a very lucrative sport in that regards. But the point I was trying to say about this chap is, it was good that he was raising awareness about it. And he wasn't raising awareness about it. I just think he was just documenting his journey, which is great. It's great for us to see. We like following this kind of stuff. And the chap in question I'm talking about, what happened to him was he was in hospital with the same thing, abscess again, which they had to scoop out of one ass cheek. And I kid you not, like clockwork, 6 months later, or maybe less than that, he had the other ass cheek happen, exactly the same thing. And it was funny because at the time when it happened, I said to a friend of mine, a mutual friend, I says, can you remember so-and-so? Many years ago, that was like 10 years previous to that, he had both operations done on both sides as well, because he had been just carelessly taking gear over and over again in the same site with the big needles, injecting it into the intramuscular, not knowing the dangers of it. And then this is what happens. So there's many guys out there with golf balls in their ass, in their arms, in their lats, wherever they're injecting nowadays. I don't know where the new sites are. I keep seeing people injecting some random places, and I'm just thinking, what the hell are you doing? I've seen people injecting the rear delts, in the lats, in the bicep. I've seen guys inject right into the bicep. Absolutely ridiculous. I don't know. These guys don't fear death. I don't know what they don't fear. They don't fear anything if they're doing that. So it's pretty crazy. But there are a lot of horror stories out there. This was just one of them I thought I'd share with you guys. Oh yeah, and the third person in question, he was again someone we knew of, and it was only happened to him on the one side. And same scenario again, needed to get it scooped out. Simple as. And while I'm at it, I'll just tell you another chap who injected in his delt. Built up an abscess, it swelled up like this, literally, like, imagine a massive spot. You know, like a yellowhead, you get like a yellowhead spot. Imagine a yellowhead spot on your arm over here, and then you just pick it, all the pus comes out, you need it drained, you need it kind of scooped out as well, and then you're just scarred for life. You're literally just scarred for life. You're never going to be able to wear a vest again, or you're going to have to get a very good tattoo artist to go over it. I don't even know how they cover scars, but I'm sure they do nowadays. They're pretty good at covering all sorts of stuff. That's tattoo artists. But yeah, it's just people need to know that these dangers, they do exist. So be very, very careful if you are taking steroids. That just keep rotating sites. Be safe about it. Be smart about it. Go and see someone. Get a massage on a regular basis. Use the foam roller. Just be safe. Now, those people who are on TRT might be wondering, can this happen to us? Well, I'm only going to tell you from personal experience and the hundreds of clients I've taught and showed this TRT technique to, which is with the insulin pins. It has never, ever happened, ever, that anyone's even got an abscess. I've even injected, and I do not recommend this to anybody, I've even injected without making without swiping the site first with an alcoholic swab, without making it sterile. I've even injected, I thought, oh, there's no swabs anywhere, okay, I'll just inject it. It's only the insulin needle. It's sub-Q as well. I spoke about how sub-Q does work. It's more safer, it's more easier to inject, and I just believe that your body can get rid of it. So obviously if it does, it's not going to crystallize inside you. That is my opinion. This is not science, guys. Please do not quote me on these things. This is my opinion from what I've seen. Same with the guys who are getting the abscesses. It's not science. This is just what I've seen. I know it happens. I have seen it happen. Why does it happen? How does it happen? I'm not a scientist. I have no idea. Go on someone else's channel. They might be able to tell you that. But I can tell you, guarantee, it does happen. It has happened. I've seen it. It's absolutely disgusting. It is horrible. So hopefully, guys, by watching this video, this has made you guys a little bit more wise, a little bit more smart to thinking, is it really worth it? Do I need to be jabbing all this liquid in one go? Change size. If you've got 5 mil jab to do, maybe put 2.5 in there, 2.5 in there. Even that is a lot of gear. To jab 2 mil in one site is way too much. My recommendation, if you have 5 mil to jab, do 5 different injections. Simple. Or do 10 0.5 mil insulin injections. That's just my recommendations. I would never ever instruct anybody to ever use a blue or a green needle. And if you're living in a different country and you don't know what gauge they are, I don't know the numbers myself. We just call them green and blue in the UK. So if you're not in the UK, you don't know what green and blue are, I'm sorry, Google it. But I would never recommend anybody to ever use those needles. Always use insulin pins to inject. You can do them more frequently, more safely. There's no need to just like, right, it's Monday today, so let's load all the steads in on a Monday. Relax, take your time. And like I said, I will say this one more time. If I had the choice of jabbing 5 mil in one go, I would rather take the option of jabbing 10 0.5 mils all over. I know you're going to feel like a pin cushion, but I would rather do that than go and put my head under the green needle, which is absolutely dangerous. So hopefully, guys, this video brought you some value. If you have any horror stories about taking steads, comment down below and like this video.